What's up, y'all? Jared Sandler with you, getting ready for the Rangers and the Astros. I'm in the studio here in DFW. Eric is back in the booth. He'll be with Matt tonight in Houston. Big news, Curtis Terry going to make his Major League debut tonight, batting seventh. He's DHing. Also big news, Nick Solak sent down. He was optioned to AAA Round Rock. Another move, Jose Trevino activated off the IL and John Hicks designated for assignment. Not a big surprise there. Not really much that John did wrong other than uh, Jose Trevino is more part of the future plans. John Hicks is a veteran who's brought in as some insurance, and there really wasn't a way to keep him. He was taking ground balls at third the other day. Maybe they were trying to see if there was something there to justify his maintaining a spot on the roster, but I imagine John Hicks will get claimed, and that will be the end of John Hicks as a Ranger. It's good to have Jose back, though, and getting the tandem of Heim and Trevino behind the plate. All right, so let's start with Nick Solak, and then we'll get to Curtis Terry. It's been a rough year for Nick. It was a rough 2020 for Nick, but as is the case with a lot of guys, you could write that off, right? Just small sample and weird year. The other thing with Nick was there were a lot of numbers that suggested he got significantly unlucky, and that things would even out over a larger sample. Got off to a great start this year, and it seemed like, well, yeah, I guess the numbers told us that, in 2020, that he was way better than that level of production. But unfortunately, his production here in 2021 has dipped below that of 2020. Not getting on base, he doesn't walk a whole lot. The strikeouts are way up for, what we're used to seeing from Nick. Not getting hits, not driving the ball. He had 7 homers through April and just 2 since. And one of the things Chris Woodward talked about was just sending him down, freeing him of the pressures of contributing at the major league level and allowing him to make adjustments without that cloud hovering above him, without the cloud of, well, I can work on making adjustments, but I got to get results. Not that, if he goes to AAA and doesn't get any hits, everyone's going to be pumped about it, but the pressure isn't there. And I think the other thing too is, when your team is losing the way this team has been losing, there's added pressure to be the guy, right? Even though I don't think anyone necessarily looks at Nick Solak and says, you're the guy who needs to put this lineup on your back. When you're a part of it and you're an everyday player and he's been that, you feel like, well, I need to carry my load here. It's just going to be a lower pressure environment. I don't think this is an indication the Rangers have given up on Nick, but Nick is not 22, 23. Nick is, he's 26 years old. He'll turn 27 before next year. So he's not old. He's still got plenty of time to develop, and the work ethic is there. But I do think that as the Rangers are looking to the future, they would like to see some progress out of Nick. But this is by no means an indication that they're moving on from Nick. They just want to give him a better opportunity to make the necessary adjustments. I expect Nick to be back this year. All right, but the big news is Curtis Terry. Who is Curtis Terry? Well, Curtis Terry is a big boy. He's a first baseman who is, he's listed at 6'2", but about 260. He's had a really interesting journey. He was in extended spring training for about 3 years. Guys who spend about 3 years in extended spring training who are not from the Dominican Republic and maybe come over at 16, those guys typically don't make it. And Curtis Terry was close to retiring before he even got out of extended spring training. Well, luckily he stuck with it. As he was getting some momentum, the pandemic hit. It seemed like it got in the way of progress and what would have been a big year for him last year. But he came to big league camp. He impressed a lot of people, even if the numbers at the end of the day weren't tremendous. He was outstanding with AAA Round Rock in the AAA West division. He was among the league leaders in a ton of categories, relevant offensive categories there. And he's earned an opportunity. Terry is 24 years old. He'll turn 25 in October. He is a DH first baseman. He is not someone who, you can stick in a corner outfield spot or at third base. He is a first baseman, and maybe more so right now a DH, working on the defense. The hope is that he can be a big right-handed bat in this lineup long term. I don't think there's grand expectations right now. I think it's just, hey, let's see what the kid can do. But that's the projection is a power bat in the middle of the order. Can he hit lefties? Oddly, as a right-handed hitter, he's done well against righties. He struggled against lefties. I think if it was a left-handed hitter who struggled against lefties, maybe a little more concern. But typically right-handed hitters eventually will figure things out. It just might not happen like this. Remember, Curtis Terry could have a tremendous first week. That doesn't mean he's a Hall of Famer. He could have a bad first week. That doesn't mean he's a total bust. All right. We got to give these young guys time. And we're probably not even going to truly know who Curtis Terry is at the end of this year if he were to play every day from now until the end of the season. I think, it's going to take a little more time, but it's going to be a great opportunity to get some exposure to Curtis Terry and for the Rangers to learn a little bit about him as they head into the offseason. What does this mean for Nathaniel Lowe? I don't think it necessarily is going to significantly cut into his playing time. There will be some times, though, where maybe he sits because of Curtis Terry's presence, because the Rangers have made it clear that Joey Gallo and Adolis Garcia need some days DHing just to give them a rest, once a week, once every couple weeks. So when that's the case, Nathaniel Lowe or Curtis Terry will likely be out of the lineup. Now, if Curtis Terry starts hitting the crud out of the ball and it's tough to take him out of the lineup, Chris Woodward said maybe at that point, maybe they would consider giving Nathaniel Lowe some reps at third base. That wouldn't make that would make some sense, because right now third base is occupied by guys who are not necessarily a part of the future, and Charlie Culberson and Brock Holt, but eventually that spot could go to Josh Young. It would be unfair to say this doesn't impact Nathaniel Lowe. I don't know that it necessarily is a move that suggests the Rangers are giving up on Nathaniel Lowe or anything close to that. They just want to see what Curtis Terry can do. And there is room for both these guys in the lineup, especially with Willie Calhoun's injury, a guy who was previously occupying the DH spot. So there's that. I think the Rangers have made a point. They want to reward production and they want to promote competition, and bringing Curtis Terry up certainly does both of those things. All right, there you go. That's a little update for you. Talk to y'all later.